Hello and welcome to Sutton Impact Family Style, episode 288. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and we'll go right into our Steeler moments today.
And for our listeners, I just said, I'm like, I'm ready. Let's just go in hot. Let's not even,
Yep.
let's not
Going
wasting.
Well,
I don't know what to say. I have no positives.
how do you think Kenny Pickett looked bad?
No, I don't think he looks bad. George Pickens looked good. You know, I guess
There were guys playing I never heard of before.
it's true. They've got a lot of injuries. I guess I've been sort of reassessing big picture stuff. Because everyone loves to flash the graphic, never had a losing season as a coach, 18 consecutive winning seasons as an organization. But they've won 3 playoff games in the last 12 years. They haven't been a Super Bowl contender in that last 12 years. They gave up over 40 points in 7 playoff games over that time to be knocked out by various teams. So I don't know how impressive that is.
No, it's unique in that they haven't had a losing record, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But they, at the same time, they haven't been like when the year they started off 11-0.
Mm-hmm.
That was the most 11-0 team in history.
And we've spoken on this before, but I just got to reiterate my thoughts because, like I said, we thought Pickett looked pretty good.
Yeah.
After the draft, the Steelers had signed a quarterback in free agency and drafted 2 quarterbacks. Mason Rudolph should not have been on the team at that point. And even if he was, he should not have got another first-team rep. All the first-team reps should have gone to Pickett and Trubisky. And if you were a pundit on the outside like Stephen A. or some other people, you're watching at home like me and you, by week 3, it was clear that Kenny Pickett was the best quarterback they had. Whether or not you like the pick or not, he clearly had the most moxie. He threw the best ball. He threw guys open. He had the best leadership. But Tomlin did this stupid game where he was like, it's a 3-man competition, letting everybody play. Why?
Which it really wasn't. It was never 3.
It was never 3, and I don't know what your point was.
And I don't know if it was even really 2.
Yeah. And it seemed like maybe you had made a handshake, wink, wink, with Trubisky. And maybe that's fine. If that's what you did and you felt like you had to honor it, I can kind of understand that. But then you look at Pickett. You could have brought him in after the Thursday night loss. And then you have 10 days for Kenny Pickett to prepare for the Jets. Instead, you throw him in at halftime and then get his first start in Buffalo against the Bills. Like, that's just really rough.
Yeah, no question.
I just don't know what, as an organization, it just seems kind of, I don't know. I don't like it.
Well, the first 2 plays today were great.
Yeah.
And then the 98-yard pass.
Yeah.
And it was all downhill from there. Josh Allen is the best. He is the MVP.
He's really good.
He's really good. And, he just...
But you kick it off.
excelled.
For the people that didn't watch, though, the Steelers kicked the ball off. The returner bobbled it, got tackled at the 1-yard line. The Steelers stuffed him on first down, stuffed him on second down. And then he threw a 98-yard touchdown over the top of the defense. And then the Steelers fumbled the kickoff and were down 10-0 to start Kenny Pickett's first career start. And the other thing that I thought they would lose by the 14.5 points because the Bills are that good and the Steelers are that bad.
Yeah.
But I thought the Steelers would have put up 2 to 3 touchdowns, mainly garbage time touchdowns, but I thought they would have. And they put up 3 points and missed 2 field goals.
And they should have been trying field goals when you're down 20 points.
Yeah.
Keep working on it. Keep working. It means you have a long way to go. And those field goals aren't going to help you. And it was a ridiculously day to try and kick field goals, so that was stupid anyhow.
Yeah. But I just think right now, every decision I make, if I'm the Steelers GM, and I'm the new GM, and I know I'm not a GM, I work in the film industry, so, I have no credibility as a GM. I'm pretty good at Madden, but that doesn't really say a lot. But I'm making every decision for making the best possible team in 3 years.
Yeah.
And if that means anybody on my roster that I don't think is going to be contributing to my team in 3 years, Mike Tomlin's job is to coach and to win. And if I think he's the best coach for the job, if I'm the GM, fine. But this defense, even with I know TJ Watt's an amazing player, right? Best player on the Steelers, best player in a long time for the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't have one of the most expensive defenses in the league, a defensive head coach. You bring in special defensive coordinator Brian Flores, and this defense to be this garbage.
Yeah,
Like,
because they're totally different after game one.
yeah.
After he got hurt, they're a totally different team.
And even week one, I mean, Joe Burrow missed almost all the preseason. The Bengals played kind of sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had a brand new offensive line, so I don't even know if the defense is even as good as they were that week one, but
No, but he was.
he was. But yeah, right now, I've got to fire Matt Canada
No question.
and just move on with somebody else. See if somebody's kid is awesome in Madden online, and he can be the give him the playbook and let him at least pick plays and start calling them. I heard something interesting.
I was the only thing that got me really upset today, because I knew they were going to get killed,
Yeah.
was the George Pickens catch that they ruled incomplete and they didn't challenge.
Yeah, because he got a hand and a foot down.
And then, they said, well, they were pretty much eating up the Steeler coaching staff, talking about, saying they weren't paying attention or they were out doing something or they're just not engaged right now. But you got to go for that. I mean, that was a great catch. Why take that away from him?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we might as well move on because there's nothing positive to talk about. I mean, it is what it is. I liked what Kenny Pickett did. I don't, I didn't like that there were guys I never knew they weren't ready to play. Yeah.
And I know this is going to be a hyperbolic statement, but I also am a little disturbed that it seems like Jaylen Warren is the best running back on the Steelers.
Yeah.
He has a level of
hard.
speed and
They
explosion.
just can't get to him because he's so small. I don't know.
He has an explosion.
And
Yeah,
he's a great blocker.
great blocker. And he moves he's got so much more explosion than Najee Harris. And I think Najee seems like a great person. But I'm not sure if he was, again, it's hard to go back and second guess picks from 2 years ago, but I just haven't seen it with him.
No.
I've seen everything.
They key on him, and it's so predictable. When he's going to get the ball, they know he's going to get the ball. It's just so predictable.
Yeah.
So you can't say if he's good or he's bad because everybody knows he's got the ball. And, whether you block for him or not, they know. They've already flowed to the play.
It's the other interesting thing is I was listening to Kyle Brand on NFL Network, and he was talking about the difference between Sean McVay and the Bengals head coach who studied under Sean McVay, right? You can have all the same plays, but if you don't know how to orchestrate them in a way that manipulates the defense, it's not really going to help you that much.
No.
And he was talking about, you can't set up every play action by run, play action. Sometimes it's just play action on first down. Sometimes you come out, you got to keep the defense guessing. You can't assume you're going to have this, every time I do this, then I do this, which it seems like a lot of the offensive coordinators have almost like a diagram where it's like, I do this play, then I do this play, then this play. And you got to be able to just feel the moment and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's move off from the Steelers so our listeners that aren't Steelers interested can have something else to digest.
Yes. Well, how about this for an NFL topic, Dad? Who's good?
How about what?
Who's good?
Well, Philadelphia's good.
Buffalo's good.
Dallas is better than I thought they were.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is not as good as we thought they were. Either Los Angeles.
Neither Los Angeles, yeah. The Broncos and Raiders are not good. The Saints are not good.
The Saints are not looking like our Super Bowl pick.
No, that was a really bad pick on my part, and I apologize. Again.
How about Bailey Zappi?
Yeah. How about him?
And I can't believe the Lions got shut out by the Patriots today.
The Lions were the number one offense in football. Now, they weren't,
Today.
not today, no. And then, we thought the Packers might be good. They got beat in London by the Giants today.
Yeah.
Who have no wide receivers.
And the Giants are 4-1.
And the Giants are 4. The Giants.
It's a insane year.
The Giants are
Insane
4-1.
year.
Yeah, let that sink in. The Giants are 4-1.
We probably had the worst Thursday night or Monday night or Sunday night game ever last Thursday night with the Colts and
Oh, that was hard to watch.
I didn't watch it. I had to turn it off. It was so bad. It was absolutely the worst.
Yeah, this is a very odd season.
Dallas is just really surprising the hell out of me.
They're
I just can't even imagine how. I can't tell you how surprised I am about Dallas. And they recovered a fumble and ran in for a touchdown, then blocked a punt the next time the Rams had the ball.
Yeah, their season so far actually does remind me. Forgive us, listeners. Forgive me, listeners. It does remind me a little bit of that 11-0 Steelers start, where they're so good at defense and just special teams plays and taking advantage of balls on the ground that you look up and all of a sudden they're winning.
Well, we're going to see Dallas and Philadelphia, I think, maybe next week.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
No, all of a sudden, the NFC least.
Those teams are really, really surprising me.
Very surprising. Yeah. And if you're playing fantasy football, it's also been just one of those seasons where you're like, I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah. I score 140 points one week and 101 the next week. Consistently. Every other week I'm scored a bazillion points.
Yeah, it's rough out there. And, I know we had talked about gambling a couple weeks on this show. I've sat out the last 2 weeks because I just have no feel for the season. It's still football, and I love watching it, but...
Although, if you're betting college the last weeks or so, nothing's really changed big in the top 10 at all.
No, we had some very...
betting the favorites, other than, I want to talk a little about Alabama. Let's switch and talk college for a while.
Let's cut college, yeah.
Alabama, Texas A&M. Probably the worst play call I've ever seen when you have one play left in the game.
Yeah.
It's 4th and goal. You're on the 3, I think it was, or the 2. And you throw a pass that's incomplete and not even in the end zone. And it's the last play of the game.
Right.
It just blew me away. I mean, it was sometimes, Alabama wins despite themselves. And I couldn't believe they won.
No.
They should have lost that game.
And that would have been a giant shakeup, but yeah, they escape.
But they didn't. And, Georgia bounces back and kills somebody.
Ohio State looked phenomenal.
Ohio State phenomenal. Michigan looked good. I guess we're going to see next week with Michigan and Penn State.
Yeah.
We'll see which one's a pretender. Because Penn State's ranked 10, I think, and Michigan's ranked 4.
It's true.
And we'll see if Michigan deserves to be 4 or Penn State deserves to be higher or lower.
And your Oklahoma State Cowboys, congratulations on another win. Close one.
Close one. They played really well in the second half. Gave up 7 total points in the second half. Tough game. They play undefeated TCU next week.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that is. And it's at TCU. Surprise of the week was probably Texas beating Oklahoma 49-0.
That's very surprising.
Oklahoma's 3-3, and we're not even midway through October, and they've got 3 losses. I can't even remember the last time that happened.
Nope. That is not a happy fan base or a happy alumni.
On the other hand, if you live in LA, you've got 2 undefeated teams.
And is anyone in LA?
The LA USC game this year might actually be a really interesting game.
I'd say definitely going to be an interesting game. But now, I think we have to talk about probably the most exciting sports story of the week.
Okay.
Victor Wembanyama, 7'4", greatest prospect ever in the NBA.
I don't know if I can say greatest prospect ever, but one of the most unique prospects ever.
A number of NBA GMs have called him the greatest prospect ever.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, LeBron.
They said he would be picked number 1 over LeBron based on LeBron if you saw them both coming out right now on LeBron's high school. He's 7'4", and he's Kevin Durant mixed with Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
And he shoots he scores in every way you can possibly score. He can hit pull-up threes, off the bounce threes. He can spot up from 3. He can take guys inside. He's got a fadeaway jumper at 17 years old, blocking shots, rebounding, and he moves not like a big fella. He's got size 20 shoes, and he's 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan. But he doesn't have that awkwardness of Chet Holmgren, right?
And what does he weigh?
I don't know. He's thin, but he's got some muscle to him. Like, he doesn't look as skinny as Durant coming out did.
Okay.
But he looks, LeBron called him an alien. Jalen Rose said he is the future of the NBA. And that, he could blow out 4 knees in the next 2 weeks, and he would be the number 1 pick in the draft every year that he came out.
Wow.
He looks, when you watch him, like, he reminds me most of Kevin Durant, but bigger. And he seemingly is far more advanced at 17 than Kevin Durant was at 19 coming out. So, if you haven't seen his highlights when he dropped 37 and 36 in those 2 games this week and just blew everybody away, like, he looks just so awesome. And the crazy thing is, if he comes in the league, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, Doncic, Wembanyama, all the good young players are going to be one thing in common, right, Dad?
Yeah, they're all going to be from out of the U.S.
Out of the U.S.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Scoot Henderson, who is the number 2 ranked prospect, also looked incredible. He's like a fiery guard that can sort of, he's got he's like a thicker John Morant with a better jump shot right now, I would say.
So, are you of the school now, since you probably heard talk about it, that they're talking about shutting him down, not letting him play anymore until the draft?
I think that's silly.
I think it's silly too, but I think that also, if you got nothing left to gain, if you're the consensus number 1, you see it in college all the time, but they don't play, in the bowl games for football, they sit out.
Yeah.
They don't go.
I could see shutting it down close to draft time, but, what you do to get better is play basketball. And as good as he is right now, and like I said, he's more refined than almost any player at 17 that I've ever seen. But I think you just keep playing him. And as people have said, like, GMs are like, he can blow out all of his knees and his elbows. I'd still take him number 1 overall. Modern medicine, he's out for a few months and he's back, so.
So if you tank, you've only got a 12.5 to 14% chance of getting the number 1 pick now?
14%.
Under the new model?
Yeah. What they did say that I thought was interesting is that, if you're one of the good teams, you're going to keep doing the good team thing. If you're Utah, if you're San Antonio, you clearly want victory, yada yada. Like, you're going all out. Utah's got to get rid of like 3 veterans, and then they'll have maybe the worst team in NCAA history, right? But what they were thinking is, now all of a sudden, if you're a borderline play-in tournament team, do you blow it up for a chance at one of these 2 guys? Maybe you would trade a good player that you would have kept. Now you keep, like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on Oklahoma, or some of these other players. Like, just to have a shot at this guy. Like, are you better off? And then you get into the whole argument about how winning helps your team and all those sorts of things. But if it's a generational player,
yeah, I don't know. You'd have to think about it. You'd have to think hard about it.
Yeah.
And, the way it's been lately, people understand if that's what you're going to do, and they root for that. I don't want to be the 12th seed, or I don't want to be number 12 in the lottery. I want to be, worse than that to get a better shot.
Right. And this isn't, the year of Anthony Bennett. This is, they're thinking 2 multi-time All-Stars, 1 potential generational player. That's going to, like I said, they said NBA is all about spacing. Mm-hmm. And this guy can shoot and get around almost any player in the NBA already. At 7'4", at 17 years old. So, And then I guess we can transition from our positive NBA story to our pseudo-negative NBA story with the Golden State Warriors and Draymond Green's punch heard around the world, right?
Yeah, I watched it today.
Okay.
And for those of you who haven't seen it, neither player was on the court at the time.
No.
And in fact, Draymond wasn't even dressed to be in practice. He had sweats on.
And he was not even next to Jordan Poole.
And he walks across and comes up to him and says something. And then there's a little bit of pushing. And then there's a punch that's a pretty good, strong punch.
It was a very strong punch, yeah. Didn't knock him out or anything, but it was legit strong. And then now he's taking time away from the team.
Okay, and if you're Golden State, Draymond, you could argue, is on the downside of his career.
Yeah.
You pull the plug.
Well, I think some of the articles I've read today from, Windhorst and some of the other NBA insiders have sort of cited that some of this, obviously Draymond Green is a very fiery leader, right?
Right.
You wouldn't be surprised that he got in a fight in practice.
And probably there's a lot of fights in practice we never see.
Right.
So part of this is, how did this film take place in the first place? And who got it to was it TZ?
TMZ, yeah.
TMZ. How did it get there?
But the other important thing to note is that currently Draymond Green is a free agent to be. And Draymond Green wants all of his money. Mm-hmm. And he wants the Warriors to take care of him. But, this is one of those business decisions where if you're the Warriors, he's still a very integral member of your team, but you've got a lot of youth, a lot of talent on this team. You got a future NBA All-Star in Jordan Poole. You've got, Kuminga. You got Moody. You got James Wiseman looking like he might actually be able to get on the floor for you. Like, there's not all that money to go around, and you probably can't keep everybody, right?
Probably not, but to get rid of them, you're going to have Steph and Clay sign off on it.
Right. And I think the problem is, the other thing is, I think if Draymond Green would take, somewhere in the neighborhood of that deal that Harden took with Philly, right? Where it's basically like a 2-year with a player option for a third year, or a team option for a third year, I think. I don't remember what Harden's deal is exactly, but it's not the kind of deal that Harden would, you would expect a guy like Harden to get. But given the way he's played, he understood that, he has to reprove his value before he's going to get, that sort of thing. And Draymond, besides being a very volatile player, he's obviously very key to the Warriors winning all those titles, but he has not been the same player he was. He's had moments, but, if you look at last year when they won, right? Steph Curry easily the best player. Andrew Wiggins probably the second best player. Mm-hmm. And then it was probably just, night to night, it was one of the other guys. And I feel like Draymond is so much closer to one of the other guys that for a team that's already way over the... Again, it's not like they can't pay luxury tax forever because they're the Golden State Warriors and they're all rich and they're fine. But, do you want that?
True. Well, I think it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. There would be a market for him.
Yeah.
No question about that.
No question. But, in
fact, Sully would probably overpay for him.
Yeah, and that seems like a very, and I know the talk has been of the big three, Steph is never going anywhere. He's completely untouchable forever, right?
Right.
And then if you could only, if you're going to keep building a team for the future and keep holding on to guys like Wiggins and, the other guys that really help you win, can you afford both Clay and Dre? And then of those two, which is the one that, E hurts your team and then B hurts the chemistry of your team the most? So it'll be interesting. But like I said...
I think they've already told you that because they paid Clay for 2 years not to play.
Yeah.
And so they've kept him around so you know how they feel about him.
Yeah. And people speculated even long before this fight that if Draymond went into the season as a free agent to be, that he may not be the most content person to play out his contract.
And that's probably legit.
Yeah.
But if you're a piece away, like if you're a Miami Heat or Milwaukee Bucks, even Boston Celtic,
right? And people pointed out,
there's a market for you.
If you're a team like Detroit and you've got this nice young nucleus, would you want to bring in a guy like Dre to sort of, teach some of that attitude, teach you how to win, or would you worry about his volatility, those kind of things? But
I think I'd rather have him on a veteran team where he could put him over the top.
Yeah, that makes
I
a
don't
lot of
want to
sense.
mess with. I don't want to mess with the young guys.
No.
Go talk baseball.
Go right ahead.
So, all the wild card games or series are over except for one.
Yeah.
And they were 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. And tonight is the Padres and the Mets, game 3. And I'm excited about it. I'm rooting for my Padres. Padres sent me a shirt, sent me a whole package of stuff, as they were one of my clients for years. And I'm going to root for the Padres, especially with ex-Pirate Joe Musgrove pitching tonight. So we'll see how that goes. Kind of fun. Seattle's a fun team. I've been rooting for Seattle. And that was a great comeback they had yesterday. Yeah, the Guardians now will advance to play the Yankees.
Was that the most surprising
matchup?
Was that the most surprising one of your 2-0s? The Cleveland Guardians advancing?
No, because the Rays weren't hitting.
Okay.
I mean, that's the most interesting series because there was 2 games and the total number of runs scored in 2 games was 4. And the Guardians scored 3 of the 4 and the Rays scored 1. They lost 2-1 and 1-0.
And that one game was a marathon.
15-inning marathon with a walk-off home run to win 1-0. And you got to play the Yankees, and the Yankees got a lot of offense.
Yes, they do.
So I would be shocked if the Yankees didn't advance. Then you get the Mariners playing the Astros, and we'll have to see how that one goes. I mean, that's an interesting series to me. The Mariners have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent, and the Astros have a lot of veterans. So we'll see where that one goes. Then I was surprised that the Cardinals got beat 2-0. And so the Phillies advance, and they play the Braves. And then the winner of the Mets-Padres plays the Dodgers. And I would be surprised if it wasn't the Dodgers and the Braves and the Yankees and the Astros. I would think the favorites are probably going to advance, but I could be wrong, as I usually am, but I'm just speculating on what I think.
No, that makes sense. While we're on baseball, just because it's once again become an issue, congratulations to Aaron Judge. I don't know if we did that last week, did we?
No, because he hit 62 at the beginning of the week.
After
the show.
So we once again are in the same place we've been in baseball many times, where people are saying the American League record, and then some people have obviously brought up the clean record, which is such a weird statement to make. Do you feel any of that talk is good for baseball, ultimately?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's good for baseball in that people are talking about baseball. I'll put it that way.
Right.
Now, I could live with a clean record and a non-clean record, a steroid era record and a non-steroid era record. I'm okay with that because I do think that this was legit because all the drug testing and everything. This 62 is legit.
And we assume
I questioned Bonds and I questioned Sosa and I questioned McGuire.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those are legit, so I'd rather see Aaron Judge hold the home run record.
It is a tricky slope, though, because there are, with advances in drug testing, there's also advances in drug using.
Right.
And it's weird to call one era the steroid era, pretending like it started on this date, and we know that it ended on this date, because we're baseball and we did what was right. Because we don't really know,
You don't know when it started. You do know when it ended. You ended with the testing.
With the testing of that steroid. But, as somebody that's worked, prior to... for grad school, I worked in the health and fitness industry as a personal trainer with a number of different people. And I've been around a number of athletes my whole life. There's plenty of stuff you can do that, won't be on those tests, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
They have, similar benefits and things, because for every test, it's just like everything else. They're always trying to get the new thing out. But it just seems like, once again, it's the same old argument, of clean versus dirty, and then you get into what records really count, stimulants in the 80s and racism for the first 100 years of baseball and excluding people and, the 62 home runs was awesome.
That's what makes it baseball.
Yeah. Obviously the 62 home runs, which is awesome anyway, but,
Yeah, I'm very interested. The Angels signed Otani for $30 million, and now Judge is going to be a free agent. And so, what's Judge's price going to be?
Oh,
Is it be $30 million a year? 10 years, $300 million,
yeah.
or is it be more than that?
I was like, I think that sounds low to me for some reason. Not to me
It's
personally,
about
but
230, so this would be $70 million more than they offered him. And is there really going to be a bidding war between the Giants and the Yankees? That's another interesting thing.
and if you're the Yankees, can you afford to let him go?
See, I don't think you can. I think he's put him in a position where they have to pay him.
Because the Yankees have been, obviously, it sounds silly to say, but by Yankee standards, they've been much more frugal. One could even say cheap at times, like the Red Sox have as well in the last decade. Now, you can argue whether that's been smart spending versus crazy spending, but I don't think you can let Judge, especially after the season, go. Like, I think you pay whatever tax you have to pay to keep him.
So if you're the Mets and you lose tonight to the Padres, do you go all in on Judge?
I mean, if I'm any team, like I'd be happy to have Judge, and I'd be just as happy to have the Yankees pay a ridiculous sum for Judge. You know, like you're bidding for a house, and you're just,
Yeah, but
I
there's
mean,
no salary cap, so there's no penalty like there would be in the NFL or the NBA.
I mean,
Pay whatever they want to pay.
Judge has a little bit of personality. He's a physically imposing player. Like when you see Judge, you're like, what does that guy do? Like
I can't
Mike.
believe he's 285 pounds.
Yeah, like Mike Trout could walk into a room and you could think he's an accountant. But Aaron Judge walks into a room, you'd be like, what does that guy do? He's at least a professional wrestler or something. So I think he brings enough cachet. I mean, like I said, if you're the Mets, if you're anybody.
Yeah, but if you're the Mets, in the battle for New York, you piss off a bunch of Yankee fans, you get a few more Mets fans, it might be worth your while.
And have him go
On
for
the other
the...
hand, it's harder to hit a home run in Citi Field than it is in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's harder to hit a home run in AT&T Park in San Francisco than it is in Yankee Stadium too. So you got to think about it. Judge has to think all this stuff through.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
If he hits 45 home runs next year, he had an off year.
Yeah, I think it would be difficult to imagine him hitting more than
Yeah, if we think he's going to hit 62 home runs next year again,
Yeah,
that's a pretty high expectation.
not impossible, but
Not impossible.
especially now. I mean, if he stays in
High
the
expectation.
if you stay in the AL, I think until you hit 70, I'd think it would just be impressive whatever you did. The pressure wouldn't come till you were close to Bonds, and then you would have all the sports world except for San Francisco cheering loudly for you to break it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing else. Live Golf is still trying to get points for their golfers. So really not making much movement on that area at all.
No.
World Cup, get ready for the World Cup this fall. See if the Americans can do anything.
Yeah. Probably not. Not the men anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, did you eat anything exciting this week, Dad?
I did.
Oh, nice.
I went to JB's Alabama Barbecue.
Okay.
And I had, it was called, it was the sample where you actually get it all.
Okay.
So you got ribs, chicken, beef, pork, and sausage.
The first time you go to a place, that's always the best one to get, right?
Yep, and you got then 2 quarts of your side.
Oh.
So we went with another couple, and they got the same thing, and they got 2 different sides. So we had 4 sides, and we had all the meat. And you would really like the sauce because it's like a sweet sauce with a burn.
I like the sweet with the burn. That is my favorite.
I know, that's what I thought about. And, your first bite is really pretty good. And then, it's a surprise. You got a little bit of a burn with it.
Nice.
But it was really, really good. And we went out and talked to the lady. and watched her cook on the smoker. I mean, they actually cooked everything on the old-fashioned wood smoker outside.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's not like if you go to Four Rivers or one of these places that has the, the stainless steel things inside.
Right.
This is still the old-time big smoker with the wood. And they actually have one on the side that they actually had burned a hole in because they'd used it for so long.
Oh, wow. Now, I'm obviously not
It's impressive. It was really good.
I'm not a fan, but did they have the Alabama white sauce as well?
No.
Oh, nice.
They just have their sauce. The only thing I'm not a fan of is, with this, they gave us a whole 16-ounce cup of sauce.
Oh.
But usually if you just make an order,
Yeah.
there's no sauce on the table. And so you get, you have to pay 50 cents to get extra sauce.
Yeah, obviously, you grew up with me going to places, and I'll abuse the sauce policy. I'll eat it all,
So
but I will eat a lot of sauce. So I understand charging. My spot I down here is Smoked, which I haven't been to in a while, but usually if you get, whatever you get, like if you get a half pound of beef or you get a sandwich, you get 2 sauces. And then it's 50 cents for each additional ramekin. But I do get annoyed, if I'm paying your 50 cents for your ramekin, you got to fill the ramekin up.
Sure.
They do a lot of half ramekins at this place, and part of me is just sort of like, not happy about that.
I just watched Cooper Kupp catch a 70-yard touchdown running away from Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
I'm just still mystified about his talent and his ability. I mean, I've never seen anybody get this much out of their God-given stuff. I mean, this is a one-handed catch running full tilt, tips it back to himself, and then outruns everybody.
And the Rams literally have nobody else right now that gets the ball thrown to them.
Except for the tight end Higbee.
Yeah, it's Higbee from time to time when he can't find Kupp, but it's just fascinating.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, this just blows me away. This is, you say whatever you want about MVPs. This guy has to be in the conversation. Because I don't care how many guys you put on him. Somehow he's getting open.
Yeah. He's on pace, I think, for 178 catches this year.
I am real sorry with the number 3 pick in my draft. I didn't take it.
Well, if you listen to all the experts, which I know is silly because who can really be an expert in fantasy football, but everyone keeps talking about regression. Eventually the defenses will adjust and they'll take Cooper Kupp away, or Allen Robinson will be on the team and from the Bears and he'll take a lot of those targets away, or OBJ will come back, but it doesn't matter. It's Cooper Kupp's team.
It doesn't matter yet. This guy just gets open.
All day long.
It's like when he's talking about Chris Carter, all he does is catch touchdowns.
Yeah.
Criticizing him. That's this guy. All he does is catch touchdowns and rack up 100 and some yards every game.
It's crazy.
It's
really
unreal. I've never seen anything like it. This is This is not a guy that played at Ohio State and had a good college career. This is a guy that played at Eastern Washington, and you never heard of him. If you're an average football fan.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't. I pay attention to the draft quite a bit, and he was thought as being, he's going to be a slot guy.
Mm-hmm.
He'll come in. He'll pop up, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, he's been just crazy.
Well, did you eat anything good this week?
I did not, but I do have 2 entertainment moments, kind of entertaining moments. But they're definitely the kind of entertainment moments if you're feeling bad about yourself and you want to feel better about yourself, sort of moments.
Okay.
One, I think I talked about it 2 years ago. There's this crazy documentary that they've made into a television show on Peacock called A Friend in the Family. And it takes place in Mormon country. And you literally have to watch it because this guy just manipulates this family in an insane way. He kidnaps their 12-year-old daughter. He marries her in Mexico. He gets a hand job from the dad. He sleeps with the mom. It's just... You're just baffled that he's able to keep manipulating this family in the same way. It's fascinating. And it's so far the adaptation in the fictional universe. So you can watch a documentary on Netflix or you can watch A Friend of the Family on Peacock.
Okay.
And then again, it's been, weird manipulating cult week in our house for some reason. But did you know about the scandal at Sarah Lawrence College? That guy that the father that basically culted 4 kids. It's this dad comes and crashes. Sarah Lawrence is a very nice Ivy League school. One of the dads comes to. They have like off campus housing.
Okay.
He wants to crash. There's already 4 people living in it, and there's only supposed to be 2. He asks to crash there, so he starts sleeping on their couch. By the end of it, he has taken them. He has made millions of dollars off of them. He's turned a couple of them into prostitutes. He's made them work his family's farm. He's made them do renovations on his house, and then he charges them for the tools that he breaks. It's another one where you're just like, how? I don't get it. But yeah.
Wow.
It's fascinating,
Oh, there's a series that starts on Showtime tonight I think you would like.
Okay.
I forget what the name of it is. It starts tonight. It's about a family with a 10-year-old daughter that's a vampire.
Okay. Oh, and it's...
Okay. When we get done, I'll text you the name of it, and then I'll put it out for our listeners. I'll put it out on social media.
And this is Halloween month, so I did watch also... Hulu has made a new Hellraiser movie.
Is there a new Halloween movie?
There is.
Are you kidding me?
And the reason you're probably confused is the last 3 and again, they're very good quality, but the last 3, it's a trilogy, right? And this one's Halloween Ends. But if you watch all 3 trailers, it's hard to tell that it's not the same movie. Because it's once again Jamie Lee Curtis looking like a badass grandma saying this is the end. And yet it's just never the end. But apparently this is the end. So...
So wait a minute. You're saying if I watch this movie...
Yes.
And you haven't seen it yet, right?
No, this one comes out, I think, next week.
That we're speculating that Michael Myers is actually terminated.
In this trilogy. Because basically this guy did a trilogy, right?
Right.
And it's... I don't know what the names of all of them are, but like I said, when you watch the trailers, every trailer is, the cool John Carpenter music, the creepy Michael Myers walking around, murdering a few people, and then Jamie Lee Curtis flexing 60-year-old Activia muscles, saying, I'm going to get him. And that's literally every trailer up till this one. But now this one is called Halloween Ends, and she's like, this is, In the trailer, she basically says, maybe he can only die if I die too. So, it seems to be that maybe this will be the end of this trilogy. But they'll reboot it, don't worry.
I'd be disappointed if they didn't.
Yeah, but they did reboot Hellraiser. Did you watch Hellraiser?
No.
That has the famous pinhead and the little puzzle box. Yep. And I think what stood out about the first one is it's sort of like American Werewolf in London, where it has some incredible effects. They're very gross, but just weird, crazy effects in the first one. And then you've got the Cenobites led by Pinhead and sort of these weird looking demon people.
Okay.
But it goes way off the rails for a while. I think this is maybe, from a storytelling standpoint, this is definitely the best Hellraiser. Like, you understand what's happening. It's not just a bunch of weird stuff on screen. So, I really liked it. I know some people are angry because Pinhead used to be a boy, now Pinhead is a girl. So some people are, all butthurt over that for no reason, but it's pretty good. And it's on Hulu, if you have Hulu. On Huluween. Where they have a bunch of horror movies.
Yeah.
And then I guess one last one is, people can turn off if they're bored already, but we're in the middle of watching Mr. Harrington on Netflix, which is based on a Stephen King story.
Which story?
I'll just give everybody a quick rundown and you can sort of fill people in based on you'll be able to figure out the story. But Donald Sutherland is like an old rich guy in a town in Maine, and he starts paying this kid to come and read him books. So he's reading them.
The Nazi one. App people.
No. He's reading them like, War and Peace, Crime and Punishment, all these sorts of books.
Okay.
And he gives, the old man is very, he's got a bunch of servants and everything else, and he eventually gives the old man a cell phone. And he teaches the old man to use a cell phone, and then the old man dies, and he buries the cell phone with him. And now he starts getting texts from the grave from the old man.
Ooh.
And he had a problem with a bully.
Were you watching this on?
Netflix. I'm 99% sure it's Netflix.
Okay.
And it's a movie, not a show, just for people wondering. But it does, there is Castle Lake, and,
Okay.
main towns, and I assume all the towns he names that are around this town are all other Stephen King towns. I'm
Did you
assuming.
enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean it's we have like 20 minutes left,
Okay.
so. But it's it feels more it's definitely more PG-13 so far. Like you don't really see any physical It's more psychological, and like I said, the first 40 minutes are
And
just
that's what I think are the best Stephen King ones.
yeah, and the first at least half, if not more, is sort of just you're watching the sort of young kid, grow up and become friends with this old man. So,
Okay.
and Donald Sutherland's always quality. He plays the old man.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. And that's I would say if you're not, if you want something with a little bit of supernatural, but you're not really a scary person, as of the 80 or 65-minute mark, you're very safe.
All right. Well, for next week, I'm looking forward to Oklahoma State, TCU,
Yes.
and Alabama, Tennessee, and Penn State, Michigan. Those are three things I'm definitely going to watch.
Okay.
On the NFL, there's no question it's going to be the Buffalo, Kansas City game.
Oh, yeah. I'm pumped for
That's
that.
got to be the game to watch. And then I'll be following the baseball playoffs and see how far the Padres get. And then the Mariners. So I'm excited about watching those.
Yeah. So, until next week. And like I'm telling you, go watch clips of Victor Wabayama on YouTube. He's awesome. So, and I hope all your teams win today for everybody. It's obviously not a Steelers
Everybody have
fan.
a good week.